My brother borrowed my car for a week. Now I'm getting letters from the police about a crime he committed with it. I'm a 32-year-old man, and my younger brother, Kyle, has always been the charmer in the family. He's the type who can talk his way out of anything. The one my mom still calls her baby boy, even though he's 28. He's also the one who's constantly in some kind of trouble, unpaid debts, shady friends, bad decisions that somehow always become someone else's problem. About a month ago, Kyle called me in a panic. He said his car had broken down, and he needed to borrow mine, just for a week, to get to work. Against my better judgment, I said yes. I told him to treat it like his own, fill the tank, and have it back by Sunday. Sunday came. No car. No Kyle. He wasn't answering my calls or texts. I told myself maybe he was busy. Maybe he just forgot to update me. But after 3 days, I started to get worried. Then, a letter arrived from the police. It was addressed to me, the registered owner of my car. Inside was a notice saying my vehicle had been spotted leaving the scene of a burglary in another city. They wanted me to come in for questioning. My stomach dropped. I called Kyle immediately, straight to voicemail. I called again, and again, until finally he picked up. He sounded calm. Too calm. "Oh yeah, I was gonna tell you about that," he said. "Don't worry, it's not what it sounds like." When I demanded to know what the hell he meant, he just laughed and said, "Relax, man, I'll explain later." Except, later never came. Instead, more letters did, speeding tickets, toll charges, and another police summons. That's when I realized this wasn't some misunderstanding. Kyle had dragged me into something much darker than I imagined. The day after that last letter came, I couldn't focus on anything else. I work from home, and I spent the entire morning pacing between my desk and the kitchen, clutching my phone like it was a lifeline. Every time I thought about calling the police myself, I froze. Part of me didn't want to believe my own brother had put me in this situation. Finally, I decided I couldn't wait any longer. I called Kyle again. He answered on the second ring, this time sounding almost annoyed. "Man, why are you blowing up my phone?" he said. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Because the police are sending me letters about crimes you committed in my car. That's why." "What the hell are you involved in, Kyle?" He sighed, like I was making a big deal out of nothing. "It's not like I robbed a bank, okay? It was just some people I know needed a ride. Things got out of hand. They might have taken some stuff." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Taken some stuff? From where?" There was a pause. Then he muttered, "A jewelry store." I swear my knees almost buckled. "Do you even realize what you've done? The car is in my name, Kyle. I'm the one they're coming after." "That's why I said relax," he said casually. "They don't have any proof you were driving. You just say you weren't there, and that's it." I wanted to scream at him. Instead, I hung up. My hands were shaking so badly I had to put my phone down. For the next week, it was a nightmare. More letters came. One of them wasn't even a letter. It was a detective, standing at my door with a badge and a notebook. He asked if I knew where my car had been on the night of the burglary. I told him the truth. I hadn't been driving it. My brother had borrowed it. He took notes, asked for Kyle's contact info, and said they'd be in touch. That night, I finally told my parents what was going on. Big mistake. My mom immediately went into defensive mode. "You don't know for sure it was Kyle," she said. "He's been through a lot lately. Maybe you should just say the car was stolen. Protect him until we know the facts." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mom, if I lie for him, I'm obstructing justice. I could go to jail." My dad didn't say much, but the look in his eyes told me he knew Kyle was guilty. He just didn't want to admit it out loud. By the end of that week, I got a call from the detective. They'd found my car abandoned in a parking lot 2 towns over. The back seat was covered in dust and crumbs, the glove box had been rifled through, and the spare tire compartment in the trunk had a torn duffel bag, with shards of broken glass inside. The detective asked if I wanted to come in to clear things up. I knew what that meant. They were closing in, and I had a choice: throw myself under the bus to shield Kyle, or tell them everything I knew. And the worst part, I still hadn't seen him face to face. It was like he'd vanished, leaving me to deal with the mess alone. But deep down, I had a gut feeling he wasn't gone. He was just hiding. And sooner or later, he was going to show up, and when he did, I'd have to decide if I was going to be his brother or his enemy. It was around 11:30 p.m. on a Thursday when I heard the knock. Not the polite kind, but that slow, deliberate knock that says, "I know you're in there." I froze in my living room, TV muted, phone in my hand. My first thought was that it was the police again, maybe coming to arrest me. But then a voice came through the door, low, hurried, almost whispering, "It's me. Open up." Kyle. I wanted to ignore him, let him stand out there until he went away, but something in my gut told me that if I didn't see him now, I might never get the truth. I unlatched the door and there he was, hood up, backpack slung over one shoulder, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "Can I come in?" he asked, glancing nervously down the hallway. I stepped aside, but I didn't offer him a seat. The smell hit me first: sweat, stale cigarette smoke, and something metallic. "You've got 5 minutes," I said. "Tell me what the hell is going on." He didn't even try to lie. "I messed up. The guys I was with, they weren't just stealing. They had weapons. It wasn't just a break-in. It's armed robbery now. And they think I might talk." I felt my stomach twist. "You might talk. Kyle, you need to go to the police right now." He shook his head violently. "You don't get it. If I do that, I'm dead. These guys, they've done worse than this. They've got people everywhere." I took a step toward him. "So your plan is what? Hide out here and let me take the fall?" His eyes darted to the floor. I need a place to stay until things cool down." That's when I saw it, peeking out of the half-zipped backpack. Bundles of cash, wrapped in rubber bands, and on top of them, a handgun. I stepped back like I'd been burned. "Oh my God, you brought that here." "Relax," he said, as if I was overreacting. "It's not loaded." I wanted to throw him out right then, but something stopped me: fear. If I threw him out, and those guys were watching, they might follow him. They might decide to come here anyway. I told him he could stay one night. But I barely slept, every sound making me think the door would burst open. The next morning, I woke up to find him gone, and so was my laptop, my watch, and $400 cash I kept in a drawer for emergencies. I called his phone, straight to voicemail. I texted, "You've got 24 hours to bring my stuff back, or I'm going to the cops." No reply. 2 days later, I got a call from the detective again. "We've located some of the stolen goods from the jewelry store," he said. "They were found in a motel room registered under your name." I nearly dropped the phone. What? I've never been to a motel. And then it hit me. My wallet had been in the glove box of my car when Kyle took it. He had my ID. I was being tied directly to his crimes, and unless I acted fast, there was no way to prove I wasn't involved. And for the first time in my life, I started to think my brother might actually want me to go down with him. By the time I hung up with the detective, my hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. My brain was racing through every possible scenario. None of them ended well for me. If the police thought I was involved, they could freeze my accounts, impound my car, maybe even arrest me before I had a chance to explain. The worst part, I didn't even know where Kyle was. He could be halfway across the country, or 2 streets over, hiding in some apartment with the gun and the stolen cash. I spent that night pacing my living room, staring at my front door like I expected him to walk through it at any second. Every creak in the building, every passing car outside made me jump. Around 2 a.m., I heard a noise from the hallway, a slow, dragging shuffle, like someone trying to move quietly. I pressed my eye to the peephole. Nothing. Then, from the other side of the door, "It's me. Let me in." I yanked the door open, ready to tear into him, but what I saw stopped me cold. Kyle's face was pale, almost gray, and there was a dark stain on the front of his hoodie. Not blood, thank God, but oil or grease. His hands were trembling. "They know where you live," he said, pushing past me into the apartment. "You've got to help me, please." I slammed the door shut. "No, you don't get to walk in here after stealing my stuff and dragging me into your mess. You're going to the police. Tonight." He shook his head violently. "You don't understand. They think I kept something from the robbery, something valuable. They think it's here, with you. If they don't find it, they'll come after both of us." I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. "Kyle, what are you talking about?" He unzipped his backpack and dumped the contents on my kitchen table. More bundles of cash, the handgun, and a small black velvet bag. He opened it to reveal a diamond necklace that looked like it belonged in a museum. My breath caught. "Jesus Christ. That's evidence. You can't keep that here." "I can't keep it anywhere else," he said. "You're the only one I trust." I laughed, loud, sharp, and bitter. "Trust? You stole from me. You used my car. You used my ID. You've done everything you can to ruin my life, and now you want me to play accomplice." Before he could answer, there was a knock at the door. Not loud, not urgent, but deliberate. Kyle froze. His eyes went wide. "That's them," he whispered. I whispered back, "How do you know?" "Because they don't knock like cops." My mouth went dry. The knock came again, 3 slow taps. Then a voice, deep and calm. "We know you're in there. Let's talk." I grabbed Kyle by the arm and dragged him into my bedroom, shutting the door. "Window," I hissed. "Now." We climbed out onto the fire escape just as the front door rattled. Someone was testing the handle. We moved as fast and quietly as we could down to the alley. I could feel my legs shaking, adrenaline pounding in my ears. We didn't stop running until we were 3 blocks away. Kyle leaned against a dumpster, panting, while I fought the urge to throw up. "This is it," I said. "Either you turn yourself in tonight, or I go to the cops and tell them everything. I don't care if you're my brother. You've put my life in danger." He stared at me for a long moment, breathing hard. "If you do that, you're signing my death warrant." "And if I don't," I said, "you're signing mine." That's when he smiled. Just a faint, crooked smile that made my blood run cold. Maybe that's the point. We didn't speak for a full minute after he said that. The noise of the city around us, cars passing, a siren far away, the hum of a streetlight, felt like it was happening in another world. I couldn't believe what I'd just heard. Maybe that's the point. My own brother suggesting he might have set me up on purpose. I wanted to grab him, shake him, scream at him, until I got a straight answer, but his expression told me I wouldn't like whatever truth came out of his mouth. I took a deep breath. "Where are we going now?" Kyle wiped his forehead with his sleeve. "Somewhere safe." "You mean somewhere they can't find you?" I said. "Because let's be clear, there's no we in this. I'm not hiding with you. I'm not covering for you. I'm done." He gave me a look like I was a naive little kid who didn't understand the rules. "If you're done, you're dead. These guys, they don't just walk away from stuff like this. You think because you didn't take the necklace, you're in the clear. You've been in it since the moment I drove off in your car." The alley was dark, but I swear I could feel his words crawling under my skin. It wasn't just paranoia. He was right. If these people thought I had something that belonged to them, they wouldn't stop at him. I grabbed his arm. "Then tell me exactly what happened." He hesitated, then finally spoke. "I was with some guys I met through a friend. Security work, they said. Easy cash, no questions asked. Turned out it was a setup. We were supposed to move some inventory from a jewelry store to a buyer. It was supposed to be clean. No guns, no alarms. But it went sideways fast. Alarms tripped. A guard showed up. Shots fired." I stared at him. "So you were there when the guard was shot?" He looked away. "I didn't pull the trigger, but they're saying I did. And the only way I could get out alive was to take something they wanted." "That necklace," I said. He nodded. "It's worth more than all the cash combined. Whoever gets it to the buyer controls the payout. I thought I could use it as leverage to disappear." I let out a bitter laugh. "Disappear? You brought it to me?" "That's because..." He trailed off, looking like he'd swallowed something sharp. "Because I thought I could trust you to hide it." Before I could answer, footsteps echoed at the far end of the alley. Two figures emerged from the shadows, big, broad-shouldered, moving with the slow confidence of men who didn't need to rush. "Run," I hissed. We bolted out the other side, my lungs burning. Kyle clutched the backpack to his chest like it was a life jacket. I could hear the footsteps behind us quicken. We ducked into a narrow side street, and nearly collided with a police cruiser pulling up with lights flashing. For a second, I thought we were saved, until I saw the look on Kyle's face. Pure panic. The officers got out, hands on their weapons. "Put the bag down and step away," one of them ordered. Kyle glanced at me. "If they take it, I'm dead. If you keep it," I shot back, "we're both dead." But instead of dropping it, he turned and sprinted in the opposite direction. The cops yelled, giving chase. I stood frozen, heart pounding, trying to decide if I should run after him, or finally let him seal his own fate. That's when I saw one of the men from the alley step out from behind a dumpster, looking straight at me. He smiled, slow, deliberate, and tapped his temple, like he was letting me know he already had my number. The police ran past, chasing Kyle. I was left standing there, alone, with the sound of sirens fading and the knowledge that no matter what happened next, this wasn't over for me. I didn't move for a full minute after Kyle and the cops vanished down the street. My ears were still ringing from the shouting, my pulse still pounding in my throat. That man's smile, cold, patient, was burned into my brain. He hadn't even bothered to follow Kyle. He just stood there, watching me, as if to say, "You're still in this, whether he gets caught or not." I walked away fast, forcing myself not to run, because I knew I looked guilty enough already. I didn't go home. Instead, I sat in my car, my poor, filthy, dented car, in a parking lot on the edge of town. I stared at my phone. I could call the police station, tell them everything, hand them my brother on a silver platter. End this. Or at least try. But my hands wouldn't move, because as much as I hated Kyle for dragging me into this, I couldn't ignore one truth. If I turned him in, I wouldn't just be betraying him. I'd be putting my own life on the line. Those guys wouldn't see me as some innocent brother. They'd see me as the reason they lost their payday. And they'd come for me just the same. The first call came less than an hour later. Unknown number. I didn't answer. A voicemail appeared seconds after. A man's voice, smooth, almost polite. "We know you have something that belongs to us. You have 24 hours to make it right, or we'll make it right for you." My mouth went dry. 24 hours. I didn't even know where Kyle was. For all I knew, he'd been arrested already, the bag sitting in an evidence locker, if he hadn't stashed it somewhere worse. I drove to her mother's house. She opened the door with that tired smile she always had for me, but her eyes darted over my shoulder. "Where's Kyle?" she asked, like she expected him to be right behind me. I told her he was in trouble, real trouble. She sighed, like I'd just told her the sky was cloudy. "He always finds his way out," she said. I shook my head. "Not this time. And if I can't find him, it's not just him who's in danger." She frowned. "You're overreacting." The sound of a car engine idling outside cut her off. I turned and saw a black SUV sitting across the street. Tinted windows. No plates on the front. I didn't say goodbye. I just left, got back in my car, and drove. I called every contact I had for Kyle. Old friends, shady acquaintances, even an ex-girlfriend who'd sworn she'd never speak to him again. Nobody had seen him. Then, round midnight, my phone lit up. It was a text from a number I didn't recognize. "If you want to keep breathing, bring the necklace to the old ferry terminal." Alone, 4 a.m. I didn't have the necklace, but I had one thing they didn't know. I'd seen where Kyle kept his emergency stash back when we were teenagers. A rusted metal toolbox buried in the crawl space of our dad's old workshop. If he'd hidden it anywhere, it would be there. At 1:15 a.m., I was in the workshop, flashlight shaking in my hand. The crawl space smelled like dust and motor oil. My fingers found the box. It was heavy. I popped it open. Inside, wrapped in an oily rag, was the necklace. It was beautiful, if you could ignore the fact that it had gotten someone killed. I sat there for a long time, holding it, thinking about the ferry terminal, thinking about Kyle, thinking about how one decision could make me either a survivor or a corpse. At 3:55 a.m., I pulled into the terminal lot. The SUV was already there. 2 men got out. One of them, the one from the alley, smiled again. "You came through," he said. I handed over the necklace without a word. He unwrapped it, checked it, then looked me dead in the eye. "We're square," he said. "For now." Then they were gone. I stood there in the empty lot, the cold air burning my lungs. My phone buzzed again. A text from Kyle. "Thanks, man. You saved my life." No apology. No explanation. Just those words. I stared at the screen until my hands went numb. I deleted the message, then blocked the number. Maybe he's still out there. Maybe he's already dead. Either way, I'm done. At least, that's what I tell myself. But every time I see a black SUV in my rearview mirror, my chest tightens. Because deep down, I know the truth. Once you're in, you're never really out. I don't know what to do anymore. Follow me for more stories.